quick show of hands, how many of you have used an Uber to get here today? I guess quite a lot, actually.
Less than I expected.
Yeah. So we all know Uber and Uber Eats as our everyday go-to apps for traveling and getting food. But behind the scenes, there is something much bigger happening. Uber was built to move people and things, but is now running an AI business using its global on-demand network as a data engine for autonomous vehicles, robotics, and generative AI. So to pull the curtain back on that, and why a worldwide gig network is the ultimate foundation for an AI data business, please welcome the global head of Uber AI, Dan Carpenter.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the time. So funny story, Uber was actually founded here in Paris in 2008. One of the reasons that initially it was instantiated is Travis Kalanick could not find a taxi in the middle of the night when it was raining outside. And so there's a relative coincidence to us speaking today relative to the company founding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first topic is, why is Uber though the right foundation layer for a massive AI data business? And how does sort of 70 billion plus trips help you guys effectively be the next AI data and robotics all-in-one provider?
Yeah. I mean, if you think back in the last 10 years where Uber's been spending a lot of time in the AI space, it ranges everything from rider management to routing and telemetry and matching people with the right location and the right car, and also scaling applications to global levels across many different markets. And so we saw an opportunity very similar to what AWS found inside of Amazon to externalize a lot of these platforms and make them available to outside customers. So we spent the last 3 years building out this team known as Uber AI Solutions to make these available, ranging from data annotation and labeling, to mapping, to autonomous vehicles, to model evals and agentic RL gyms. And a lot of these things, we're working with many of the hyperscalers and the foundation labs on physical data collection activities as well, which is really relevant for the audience here today. And so, we scale that through Uber's entire platform of 9 million earners globally, which really gives what we think a relatively unprecedented scale and ability to get to not only kind of scale data collection, but also edge situations that are important for a lot of robotics training in the market today.
Awesome. Is there something that particularly surprised you about the overlap from Uber to Uber AI?
Yeah. I think that, we can talk more about this, but folks have likely seen the announcements around Uber AV Labs, which is one of our sister organizations internally that's spending a lot of time with our autonomous partners and not only enabling the broader ecosystem, but also collecting very significant amounts of global data across many different sensor types and modalities. And we found a natural transition of that physical data collection effort to what we actually need to provide in robotics, especially for real-world navigation, world models, HD mapping, among other things that 3 years ago, we wouldn't have said this was a big bet for the business, but it's really been an area that we've been pulled through overall to really kind of scaling in this area more broadly. I mean, from your perspective, from a robotics standpoint, what have you guys found to be some of the big challenges you're facing?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest challenges is collecting data, finding sort of the right hires, racing for hires with OpenAI, DeepMind, some of the big players, kind of not only on the mission, but also on capital, as well as kind of just building our core system. So all of those are important for us. I wanted to ask about how you guys kind of see data collection at Uber. So obviously, LLMs had the internet to train on, but for robots, that's not going to work. We have seen several times today that we collect data in several different ways. Everybody has their own thesis of collecting data.
Yeah.
What do you guys do to address the data scarcity problem?
Yeah, I mean, at risk of repeating some of the other presenters that have already been on stage today, I mean, I think physical intelligence put it well in the fact that there is not an internet for physical robotics and collection, right? You have over 300 million tokens of text and video that's available for training LLM systems, and I think that this is an area that is really a frontier that a lot of folks are trying to figure out. I mean, if we were to collect enough data for what would be a true robotics model, it would be 80 million robots running 24/7 for 3 years, right? And that's not something that is scalable or cost sensitive, right? And so we view not only scaled collection is important, but also the quality of those collection activities, where we can actually go get data, the different modalities and types, whether it's people's homes or outside in the physical world, moving around, and in your case, really specialized use cases like oil and gas and government applications and whatnot that we think there's a tremendous frontier ahead of us that really no one has scratched the surface of yet from an overall data quality and excellence perspective.
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, at Minerva, we do a lot of teleoperation as well to collect data and fine-tune it and then clean it, prune it, and get it ready to actually being used. It's quite a hassle.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of specific infrastructure that you guys have built out to generate or prune data for yourself internally?
Yeah. So unfortunately, we've been asked today if Uber's making its compute available to some of the parties out there, and unfortunately, that's not something we're selling just yet. But I know that there would be a lot of appetite for that. But I think we have the ability to not only use Uber's internal ecosystem from a compute perspective for a lot of the annotation and labeling work that we're doing, but we also have the benefit of Uber's entire application ecosystem for onboarding a lot of the folks that we have involved in these tasks. So if it's a relatively low-skilled, high-volume task, we can use many of the same rails that Uber uses for drivers. That includes payment, IP verification, identity verification, among many other things that allow us to not only have security around what it is that we're collecting, but also knowing who's on the other end, which is extremely important, and then ensuring they get paid on time, on task, and that we can bring repeatable efforts forward to them. And one of the things that is really interesting, especially for people who maybe don't have the ability to drive or who don't have a car, this presents new economic earning opportunities for them too, and that's really resonated a lot, especially with governments that are finding new earning opportunities for their citizens. And so we're really excited as we're currently available in 30 countries worldwide to continue to expand that and find integration opportunities with local municipalities to expand this even further.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the future we will see a galore of these platforms that just connect remote workforces across the planet, kind of forcing the pricing function of money into the economy and serving as a platform for remote teleoperation effectively.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you see that being useful in a way to also collect and label data as well?
Yeah. So I think edge cases are the name of the game, right? Someone in autonomous vehicles, you have situations whether it's snow, hard braking, right turns, difficult cities to navigate. In certain areas of Southeast Asia, there aren't even street names, right, to work on. And so that's where we've learned a lot from our autonomous labeling work, whether we had Uber ATG back in 2018 and have since progressed that into the partner ecosystem. There's a lot of ways that we have to kind of find specialized opportunities to provide to our customers. And so in the case of robotics, we're seeing much of the same thing where not only edge case collection is important, but also the searchability of that, right? How do we surface things that may be useful for their model that they may not be able to get through other sources? And so that's an important avenue we're continuing to poke on. But I think, edge cases more broadly is one. The second, two, is the modality at which people collect, right? I mean, whether it's phone-based, harness-based, VR headsets, some particular application, we try to be as flexible as possible, but I think there's a lot of opportunity for more continuity and similarity among the way that people are collecting data and how we can make a more open ecosystem there too, which is something that I'm personally really excited about.
Makes sense. How would you rate simulation to real-world data? What's your current mixture of bags that you use for most clients? Is there sort of a rule of thumb that you use? Or depends on sort of the customer?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think in a lot of cases, because we're involving a lot of parties that haven't previously done data collection before, I mean, we want to get to a place where you can call an API, have data collectors go out and do the work for you, but we're not quite there yet from a customization perspective. So unfortunately, a lot of cases, it's a case-by-case interaction with customers and very services-oriented, but I think that gives us an opportunity to, again, really kind of meet customer demand and then learn along the way so we can develop a better platform and product, right? And that's kind of within our DNA from the original B2C business and what we can build from a B2B perspective as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And do you see sort of in the future an avenue to pull data from real Uber rides or potentially Uber Eats of how a pizza is being delivered?
Yeah.
In sort of solving that problem autonomously?
So today, many of the partners within the Uber ecosystem that we're working with in the autonomous vehicle sector, do have external sensors that we're not collecting any of the internal car data, but what they are seeing outside of it. And so that allows us to not only scale to multiple municipalities, but also get many hundreds of thousands of hours of aggregate data overall and many different situations on the same street. sunrise, sunset, traffic, no traffic, et cetera. And again, that's something that we view having strong applications. Now, can we move to a place where we also have sensors on backpacks, on Uber earners, on potential humanoids, running delivery opportunities for us? Yes. Those are things we want to explore and are actively finding opportunities within that space.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Right. And do you have any advice for the general audience on how to sort of solve the edge case problem as sort of procedurally or at a high level?
I mean, I think diversity of data is important. I know that there's many companies here locally that are providing a ton of different data collection activities. You know, we've heard that in certain markets, there's a lot of saturation, right? And so I think especially in Southeast Asia, there's lots of people reusing and repackaging the same data or using the same people kind of overall. And so I think expanding that to many different locales is extremely important as we look to various different model types and different home types, different kitchen layouts, or different places that the robots may go. I think all of that's really key, and so we're happy to work with other partners in the community that may have access to things that we do not, and find ways that we can co-sell together as well would be tremendous opportunities. I mean, we want to build a broad market within this space, and really, as we've done in autonomous systems, be an aggregation layer for a lot of robotics opportunities down the road.
Makes sense. Do you guys deploy globally, or is it more of an American or European focus?
I would say today a lot of our requests, I mean, Uber AI Solutions itself operates in 30 countries right now. I would say much of our robotics data collection work has primarily been centered in the United States and Southeast Asia. We're getting a lot more requests for other Asian markets like Japan and Korea, in addition to areas that are super difficult like Sub-Saharan Africa, right? I mean, those are things that are tough edge cases, but that we are trying to find ways to scale into. And I think that there's a lot of markets that are maybe not in the top 20 from a physical collection perspective that we view an ability to move into fast and find ways to leverage our local population there that we think would benefit everybody.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Is there anything you do to sort of, you mentioned scaling, so is there anything you do to keep things sustainable as you scale through these millions of hours of training data?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these, the people, we call them earners, who we interact with, I think this is a first time opportunity for a lot of them. They're learning how to collect data, they're learning what good looks like, and the more repeatability we can give to these folks, the better. So we may identify a population in a particular market of a couple thousand people that have done this before. The more this flywheel spins for us, the more customer requests we get, the more we can keep them on the platform and give them more opportunities to scale. And that I view as important. Just giving someone a one-off $5 task is not super exciting, right, or engaging. And so we want to, again, increase that velocity. And that comes with us scaling the business, bringing on more customers, and finding ways to, again, find different methodologies for the collection effort.
Right, makes sense. And where do you see the main bottlenecks in scaling up that business operation? Is it more in sort of the physical kind of toughness of the problem, it being hard to just make good hardware? Or is it more about, or capture data? Or is it more about sort of the lack of compute, or more about like lack of data?
I mean, compute is constrained for everybody, whether it's a standard AI case or robotics use case. I don't need to repeat that, but I think that one of the things that we've seen challenges, especially, is head-mounted collection, right? It's uncomfortable for people to wear a headband, it's awkward, it looks weird, right? And so I think the more we can move towards something that is comfortable for an earner to wear, person to wear long-term, grippers that are easy to distribute and get back, right? A lot of those things from a device commonality perspective, I think will be better for the human experience part of it. So we're exploring a lot of different kind of logistics approaches there. And then I think the second thing is, which we didn't expect from the get-go, is in certain locations, internet speed is a challenge, right? Someone's filming, a 1080p video over long form, 10 plus minutes, and they either have challenges uploading it, or the video does not upload in totality and have to go back and do it again, or we've even had people that are going to coffee shops to upload their videos. So that's something that isn't within our control, but we want to try to validate ahead of time that they have the right infrastructure in their home or in the location they're going to actually conduct the collection activity. And I think the last thing is quality too. I mean, volume is one thing, but getting people actually to do something well, the video looks good, it's not choppy, it doesn't cut out. That requires both agentic work, we're working through a model to assess the quality, and then a second layer of human in the loop that we all have to get more efficient about over time. Yeah.
Makes sense. And have you seen something that sounded like science fiction sort of 18 months ago?
Yeah.
Like something that would have sounded like it was science fiction 18 months ago and is now a reality at Uber AI?
I think a lot of people are talking about household robotics. I mean, I think that's a given of having a helper around the house long term. I think that there's been a couple of customers we met with here and folks speaking earlier working in the industrial space. I'm particularly bullish on the ag sector. I think there's not been innovation in ag for 20 plus years. There's tremendous monetization opportunities across every geography for crop-based science, fertilizers, carbon robotics from my home state in Washington is really exciting. And actually my brother's a winemaker and he's testing out carbon robotics right now at his winery from a weed control perspective. And so I think those aren't necessarily a humanoid modality, but there's so many different applications and sizes and shapes and things that I'm really looking forward to seeing kind of how it progresses in the next 5 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And my last question is, do you actually see a certain form factor having more of a potential than other form factors across all these applications?
Well, personally, I think, I know you're doing a lot of work in the humanoid space with legs, right? And I think the thing that's interesting is how robots with legs navigate hard to reach areas that are moving or changing under them and whatnot. And so I think I see it's kind of a dichotomy between wheeled robots versus legs, but overall I think we're seeing from a lot of the trends here that legs seem to be winning out, but it'll take some time to fully get a fully stable, I guess, platform overall on a lot of the edge cases you guys are working in.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Likewise, thanks.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.